Good day everyone, welcome to PHENOMSOUND. Some of you have been asking me to make a breakdown of the drop from my previous tutorial, but I have something fresh for you guys. I have this kinda Mefjus style drop that we are going to take a closer look at today. This complete FL Studio project, all of the serum presets and samples from it are available on my Patreon page. I have just a tremendous library of content there, so make sure to check it out, you won't regret it. It's definitely gonna help you with your music production process. 100% of the sounds from this drop are synthesized, including the drums. And in this video, I would like to show the importance of sound design process. Because if you are crafting and polishing your sound during the synthesis process, you'll have less work to do afterwards during the mixing process, and you'll have less problems putting it in the mix. And for example, let's take a look at this main bass of the drop. It has only 3 plugins on the post-processing chain. It's an OTT compressor. This is how it sounds dry. Now it's compressed. I'm adding some stereo width using 3 kHz Haas. And then some post stereo manipulation using Imager. I'm setting the low frequencies to almost dead mono, everything below 200 Hz. And also manipulating some of the ranges over here. So basically all the significant thing that we've done here is just a compression, and here's how it sounds in the mix. Now let's take a look at the synthesis of this sound. It consists of 3 oscillators, the main one, the sub-oscillator, and a noise oscillator. Then there's additional crispy layer. This icon has kick is probably the crispiest wavetable in Serum, and I really love it. I'm automating its wavetable position and a bit of its sync. And adding a tiny harmonic layer using the first oscillator. That's been filtered. I have a lot of post-processing over here. And this is what makes it less post-processing over here on the FL Studio side. So I have distortion, stereo expansion, flanger, phaser, chorus to add some space, and compression, EQ automation, filter automation, and a tiny bit of a delay. So this makes my sound design process a bit more complex, and it takes more time to synthesize the sound, but then I can save it, I can recycle it, and it will sound nice in every mix, and I don't have to put a lot of stuff on my post-processing chain, which is cool. Let's take a listen on how it sounds without all these suffixes. That's ridiculous. Yeah, you may think that all of these plugins that we've just added do nothing. The effect is really barely audible, but it starts being audible instantly as we compress and distort the sound, making it really loud. compression is really important in Serum. I'm setting the gain to ridiculous 16 decibel. Adding some tiny automations of the frequencies. Some filtering. And little delay. So this is my main bass. How do I know what to put, which filter should I use, and stuff like that? I'm just tweaking the stuff, trying different types of distortion, different types of drive amount, different compression settings, filter automations, and stuff like that. And I'm just spending a lot of time with synthesis until I get the satisfactory result. And I use this high-notch 12 filter a lot on neuro basses. If I want to make something extremely unique and cool, I use this flanger or phaser 48 types of filtering. If I want some crazy distortion and screechiness, I use reverb or comps filter. So that's basically pretty much all the stuff that I'm using, nothing too fancy. I have also some pitch automation on the sound using the second LFO. I'm automating the master tuning, setting it at 56. This is also really important in this kind of sound that Mefjus is using to make it more laserish. Really significant difference. And then I'm layering another sound to it. It's pretty much the stuff that every drum and bass producer is doing. It's the noise layer, which is really, really wide. The difference in the mix is really audible. And it's just a basic noise with some sine wave that's being distorted. I'm making it really wide. Changing the flavor of the noise a bit, using a free remake of Ableton Live's Erosion. EQing it. Adding some tremolo. Really slight one, distorting it and adding another EQ to make it all clean and neat. And another crucial component of any NEUROFUNK drop is the synth, because our bass is quite fat, but it's not enough for our drop. Let's take a listen. But as we add our synth, it's completely finalizing the drop. This one has a lot of post-processing because I wanted to make it really unique, and here's the sound dry. A couple of low-pass wavetables, really basic. This one is called Hyper, and the basic Mini. Those are quite detuned. What makes this sound really interesting is this comps filter. It is pretty similar to the reverb filter. I'm using those quite a lot. And adding some automation to the cutoff. Here is how it would sound dry in the mix. So first I'm compressing it, adding some overdrive and EQing it, adding some phasing using low filter. One of those presets, phaser, stereoizer and stronger phaser, are working really well with NeuroSounds. It's also smoothing up this sound a bit. Then goes another compression, transient shaper, free plugin from Kilohertz Audio. I'm raising up the attack and reducing the sustain to make it more punchy. And short to reduce its tail. Adding tiny reverb, another EQ to make it clean. Then goes maximizer to make it louder and some soothe to reduce the resonances, to make it less sharp. So altogether it sounds like this. Let's take a look at the drums. The groove is pretty much the Mefjus-ish. Without this classic drum and bass kick. Just one kick on each bar, and I really love this trick. Makes it much more groovy. I've synthesized the kick. It's probably one of those kicks from my tutorial on how to synthesize drums. I've made it using a sine wave. And the noise. I'm distorting it using the hard clip distortion. Compressing it, EQing a bit, and filtering it. Using the reverb filter. It's not very obvious decision, but I like how this reverb filter is adding a punchiness to the sound and kind of saturating it. The most important part of this kick synthesis is the pitch automation. It's this master tuning automation using the second LFO. I've set it to 24. This is what makes it really punchy. I'm compressing it, adding some attack using transient shaper, doing it once again, and removing some 250 Hz mod. Then I have a couple of snares layered. This one and this one. It's mostly the noise that does this sound. I've used this Squelchy2 wavetable. It's filtered using the low pass filter, and the noise does the trick. I like using the inharmonic one. It's a bit distorted using the sine shaper, compressed, and EQ it. I've picked the resonance on the 560 Hz to make it really punchy. and adding some more attack using the transient shaper. So there's no any processing at all, no compression, no stuff like that. And the second one is based on sine wave and another noise. Yeah, those sound ridiculous, one without another, but together they make a really nice sounding snare. Plus, what's gluing those together, this distortion. Makes it sound like a one consistent sound. I have some automation going on this EQ gain. That's picking our 250 Hz frequency all the way up and bringing it back, creating this punchy attack. And I have a tiny tail using the delay. I have another transient shaper, EQ, imager to make the high end of this snare a bit wider, and another transient shaper to add more attack. And then I have this synthesized kind of a ride, just a pure noise. I'm trying to make it more natural by automating the pitch of the noise. I think without it, it sounds a bit more artificial and boring. So yeah, this pitch automation makes it much more natural. And I have a tiny bit of a distortion. I'm making it more punchy. And EQing everything below 3500. And yeah, I have this tiny additional hi-hat. That's also synthesized using the noise. So this sounds quite interesting, but a bit empty. So I have another additional sound to fill the space. It's this synth, kinda laserish one. It's the reverb filter that does the trick. Let's take a look at the frequency range of this sound. It's quite wide, it has lots of high-end information, some of the mids from 200 to 1K Hertz, so it's pretty much filling the space quite well. I'm adding some final touches, like flanger, to make it more moving and smooth it up a bit. I'm leaving this from 640 to around 3K Hertz frequency range. That sounds most pleasant to me, and that I feel that this kind of range is lacking in our mix, and adding some erosion to make it more dusty and grungy, and adding some final EQ to reduce the sharpness. And let's check the final result. The second part of the drop contained pretty much the same bass as we've used in our first part. I've modified the second slate a bit, used the view one, and removed the 7th note on the first oscillator. And added another layer. It's this 7th block. I've compressed it and removed the low frequencies. These tiny sounds are just a simple wrist bass from my tutorial, how to make 3 types of wrist basses. Just being filtered. It has some flanger on it. This token inner bass also has some post-processing on it, so dry it sounds like this. I'm compressing it, adding some flanger, chorus, OTT, and EQing it, adding some EQ automation. And in the second part of the drop, I've also used a clap, synthesized clap, instead of a snare. It's just a noise. Super simple. And some additional ghost snares. And some hi-hats. Once again with the pitch automation that make it really much more interesting, I think. With some erosion on it, transient shaper, EQ, and a phaser to make it a bit wider and moving. My cymbals are pretty much mono. The thing is that the sounds that you set really wide are going to be in a focus of the listener. So I don't want to have these cymbals in focus. I want to make my basses and synth in focus instead. So that's why I'm making my main bass really wide. And I'm making my synth wide. This noise is really wide, and this background noise. We already have a lot of information in our stereo field, so these cymbals and hi-hats will serve just an additional tools for our groove. That's why I want to put them in the middle to not distract the listener from the main sounds. Much more interesting sounds. And I have another additional background layer. Is this flanged kind of a synth. Sounds like this, dry. I've added another flanger. That's what I hear in some Mefjus songs. He's using this flanged kind of a noise down effect with some EQing going on, making it more dusty using erosion and EQing once again. And that's what we've got. I'm using a volume automation to sidechain all these basses and synths. On my sidechain channel I have no post-processing. On my master I have only maximizer with this kind of settings. And that's pretty much it. So as you can see, this drop is really minimal. I have my main bass, my synth, some minimal drums, and a couple of background additional sounds to fill the space. For sure we could add some more stuff to it to make it more complex, but I wanted to show you that having a really minimal set of sound that are crafted really well, you can have a decent sounding drop which you can develop into something more complex and more professional. So I hope this video helps either with your sound design or mixing process. As you can see, there is nothing extraordinary in my mixdown process. I have no 20-50 plugins on one sound to design something really good. If you enjoyed this video, hit like, leave a comment to share your opinion, and subscribe to PHENOMSOUND to stay tuned for more sound design and music production tutorials. Something really exciting coming on PHENOMSOUND, so be sure to follow my Instagram page and to join my Patreon to not miss out my new stuff. And thank you so much for watching this video, and see you in my next one. Bye!